Okay, this is lesson 1.1 out of variables and patterns, the first lesson of the unit. Looking at an experiment talking about jumping jacks. So the objectives of this lesson, first I want you to know how to identify patterns and relationships between variables using a table. New words here are relationship, that is the math version of relationship. Variables might be new to some of you. Tables should not be new, but it is still mathematical. To show that, you are going to create an accurate table and analyze its contents to answer questions. Analyze. To analyze just means to look at closely so that you can describe it to someone. Alright, let's take a look at what this experiment actually is. So, the jumping jacks experiment. Sarah wanted to see how many jumping jacks she could do in 90 seconds. She had a friend record how many jumping jacks she had completed every 10 seconds until she reached 90 seconds. He recorded the data in the table below. So we have the name of the table, jumping jacks experiment. Up top we have time, which counts up 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It's counting by tens because it says it's counting every 10 seconds. On the bottom we have the number of jumping jacks. So it looks like this experiment has been done already. So Sarah did her experiment. At 0 seconds she had 0 jumping jacks, 10 seconds, 11 jumping jacks, 20 seconds, 24, 30, 34, 40, 45, 50, 54, 60, 62, 70, 62, 80, 68, 90, and 75. So the experiment was done over the course of 90 seconds. Now, the table has been created for us, and so what we're going to do is analyze the table, which means we have to look at the entire table close enough so that we can answer questions about it. First question, how did the pattern change as the time in seconds got higher? So as time got higher, something happened to the pattern. Now, pattern is what something is increasing or decreasing by. So if we look as time gets higher, how did this pattern change? So let's look at what is being added every time. To go from 0 to 11, we add 11. 11 to 24, we add 13. 24 to 34, we add 10. 34 to 45, we add 9. 45 to 54, we add 9. 54 to 62, we add 8. 62 to 62, nothing happened. 62 to 68, we add 6. 68 to 75, we add 7. Alright, so we start out adding a high number, we end up adding a lower number. So it looks like the pattern changed by going up slower and slower. So the pattern started slowing down. Now, the jumping jacks always got higher, but it got higher at a slower rate. One way we can think about that is if you're doing something in real life, if you're doing jumping jacks, you're probably going to slow down after doing 50 of them. If you were to right now do 50 jumping jacks, you might have to take a break, you might have to slow down. So, second question, what do you think the jumper was doing from seconds 60 through 70? So now we need to take a look up here at the table and look at seconds 60 and 70, which are right here. So this is what we're looking at. At 60 seconds, the jumper had 62. At 70 seconds, the jumper had 62. Nothing happened. The total number of jumping jacks did not go up. So what we can think about is, well, is the person doing jumping jacks? No, because they did no jumping jacks during that time. It looks like Sarah took a break. So it looks like Sarah took a break at that time because she didn't do any jumping jacks, and then she started doing some more after that. A couple simple questions, pretty easy, starting out slow. Let's look at the practice problems on the back of that worksheet. So, practice problems. For problems 1 and 2, order the numbers from least to greatest. Now, least to greatest also means smallest to big. Least is small, greatest is big. Now, number 1, we have 1.75, 0.25, 0.50, 1.50, 2.00, 0.75, 1.25, 1.00. First thing I think of when I see this is money. Looks like money to me. Money has 2 decimal points. All these have 2 decimal points. Looks like they're also counting up by quarters. So, pretty simple. The smallest number is the least amount of quarters, which looks like, let's see, $1.75, 25 cents. So far, that's smallest. 0.50, 1.50, $2, 0.75, so that's 75 cents. $1.25 and $1. So looks like 25 cents is the smallest. Cross that out. Next up, 50 cents. 0.50. Cross that off. Next up, looks like 75 cents. Cross that off. Well, counting up from a quarter, we have $1 next. So $1. Cross that off. Now we're looking at between $1 and $2. Well, it's going to go up by the same pattern, so I'm just going to draw it down here. $1.25. Cross that off. $1.50. Cross that off. $1.75. Cross that off. And $2. Alrighty. Problem 1 solved. We go from lowest to highest. 25 cents, 50, $75, $1.25, $1.50, $1.75, $2. Alright, next up. We are ordering fractions. A lot of people hate fractions, but this one is set up pretty simple. Everything is over 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by listing everything over 8. That's 4. There are 8 total, so 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright. The top is going to be pretty easy. We have up here 3, 8, 2, 7, 6, 4, 1, 5. Looks like the numbers 1 through 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Smallest to biggest, 8 over 8 means the number 1. 1 over 8 is the smallest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, pretty simple. Let's move on to the next question. Alright, here's a pretty big question. Use the pattern below to answer questions A and B. So let's take a look at this pattern. We have figure 1 is 1 square. Figure 2 is, looks like 3 squares. Figure 3 looks like a lot more squares. So we got to figure out what's happening to our pattern. So to go from figure 1 all the way up to figure 4, now I'm going to start changing up some colors. So if we look at figure 1 and make it red, well, it looks like it's right there. And there. And there. Now, figure 2 looks like you add 2 squares. Well, those are right there. Figure 3, let's look at the bottom blue squares. And figure 4, well, if you're following the pattern, it's the bottom 4 squares. Now, looks like each time we go up a figure number, we add that number of squares to the bottom. Figure 1 starts out with 1 square. Figure 2 adds 2 squares to the bottom. Figure 3 adds 3 squares to the bottom. Figure 4 adds 4 squares to the bottom. So, draw the next shape in this pattern. Figure 5 is going to add 5 squares to the bottom of this shape. So we have the top square, the next 2 squares, the next 3, which is figure 3, the next 4, which is figure 4, and 5. Now we have figure 5. Just added 5 squares to the bottom of figure 4. Now, fill in the table below using the figures. Figure number 1 has how many squares? 1. Figure number 2 has how many squares? 3. Figure number 3 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Figure number 4 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Figure number 5 we just made has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Figure number 6. Well, we did not draw figure number 6. I could draw it over here, and some of you might want to do that. However, I'm going to look at the pattern. I'm going to think a little more intelligently about this. So, figure number 1 is 1 square. Figure number 2 adds 2 squares to the bottom. 1 plus 2 is 3. Figure number 3 adds 3 squares to the bottom. 3 plus 3 is 6. Figure number 4 adds 4 squares to the bottom. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 5 more squares is 15. 15 plus 6 more squares is going to be 21. So that finishes up our pattern there. Let's double check and make sure we have the entire worksheet completed, front and back. Was nothing to do there. We have our 2 questions answered. We have a bunch of work shown up in here. We have questions 1 and 2 of the practice problems answered. And we have question 3, A and B answered. So this is the end of lesson 1.1. Lesson 1.2 is next.